Welcome back, everybody. I'm Brian Kilmeade. What a busy Thursday. We have books being released. We have another record set on Wall Street. 25,000 has now been surpassed. I think it's the 71st time Wall Street, the stock exchange, has set a new mark while NASDAQ continues to soar. A little bit shortly, we'll also find out who's going to be the majority in the Virginia State House race, because there's a random drawing to pick a winner, and they've had a perfect balance right now. This been, if the Republicans lose this, it would be kind of devastating to them, but we'll have to see. And we're also going to be following what's happening internationally, as well as the White House response to this weather. What are they calling this? A bomb? They're calling this some type of a bomb cyclone. So we have all these extraneous weather conditions happening and new names popping up. Janice team at the bottom of the hour to explain. Senator Bill Cassidy on deck. So let's get to the big three.
Brian's Big Three.
Thanks to nothing, European Union, as they stand back Obama style while brave Iranians stand up to their thuggish Islamic terrorist government.
Number two.
The Russian investigation. The FBI blinks. The Department of Justice produces. Devin Nunes threatened legal action, and he finally got some results, as they have gotten most of the information that they needed about Fusion GPS and their role in unmasking and more Trump officials.
Number one.
Abandoned, unhinged, and off the reservation. He opens up to author Michael Wolff and rips the president in the most demeaning way possible, brings us inside the first 200 days of the White House in a way in which the president's greatest enemies would probably are reveling in today. What Steve Bannon plans on accomplishing, I don't know, because he's lost his influence with the president. He has lost his funding with the Mercers. Rebecca Mercer's already said, I'm pulling any funding for any type of Steve Bannon cause. I side with the president. And now Steve Bannon's on the outs, period. He's making people make a decision. They're going to side with the guy in the White House. You don't really have a fan base, Steve Bannon. What are you thinking? Joining us now is Senator Bill Cassidy. Senator, I know a lot of people in Washington were not happy that Steve Bannon was going to do primary, a lot of Republicans. What do you think about his fortunes at this hour as this book hits is a week away from hitting the stands, but excerpts are out?
You know, I'm not sure what Steve's thinking. It's clearly a reporter trying to sell a book. That said, a lot of the folks the reporter quotes say that what they said, they never said. So at the end of the day, I think it's stuff, whether it's made up or not, it's just noise. Key thing is we've got to drain the swamp. We got to implement our tax bill. We got to get an infrastructure package forward and do something about Obamacare. And I'm more committed to that than worrying about what Steve says.
I know you don't worry about it. I think that was the reason why the tax reform got passed. My humble opinion, because everyone was focused on things in the Russia investigation, Fusion GPS, and whatever else was going on. You guys were able to work behind the scenes and get this done without the normal media scrutiny on a piece of legislation this big. Do you agree with that? And if so, with this big story happening, does this actually help you avoid a government shutdown and get to immigration reform?
I think Republicans have been about getting the business done. I mean, Democrats were hysterically calling the tax relief for middle America Armageddon. Republicans did the hard work, and now in February, folks will see more money in their take-home check because tax rates are lower. Now, that's a good thing, Brian. And so if Democrats just want to sit around and posture and complain and be hysterical, that's fine. But we're working on draining the swamp and making things better for America.
Well, you had Doug Jones swearing yesterday. He says I'm going to be a bipartisan senator. Senator Joe Manchin always talks like that. He's one of our favorite guests, but he never votes any different from Senator Schumer. So is there any sense that immigration's going to, some type of compromise will get done this winter in anything?
Yeah, I think so. One. You just bring up moderate Democrats, so to speak, but they never vote away from Schumer. I'll just point out one more thing on the tax reform bill. Schumer's protecting the billionaires in Silicon Valley, saying, oh my gosh, they're going to pay so much in state and local taxes. And he gets middle American Democratic senators to support him, protecting billionaires in Silicon Valley, but not putting more money in the take-home check, the take-home pay of somebody in their own state. So hopefully Doug Jones will be different. Hopefully he'll vote for Alabama as opposed to Chuck Schumer. When it comes to the immigration, the president's indicated. You help him build a wall, and he's willing to negotiate on some other issues. And I think that compromise is out there. If Democrats just want to posture and complain and and just try and obstruct, then maybe nothing happens. If they say, wait, we got a compromise here. The president wants to secure our border. If we help him do that, we'll get something in return. Then I think we can go someplace.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because most people respond personally to health care. They respond personally to tax reform. It doesn't really matter if you're Democrat or Republican, how it affects you. For example, in New York, a lot of people aren't happy. They spent a lot of their weekend between Christmas and New Year's prepaying a lot of their taxes because now you can't write them off in those higher tax states. That's a Schumer state, and, of course, along with Silicon Valley in California. So, Senator Bill Cassidy, you're also Dr. Bill Cassidy. You co-founded the Greater Baton Rouge Community Clinic, a clinic providing free dental and health care to working uninsured. You're not a Republican that doesn't understand the impact of health insurance. Are you for this Murray-Alexander compromise that kind of got steamed over in the fall when it came out?
I am for it. It would actually lower premiums for there's a group of people getting subsidies. Okay, they're getting subsidies, they're taken care of. It's those folks who are not getting subsidies on the individual market who are paying premiums upwards of $40,000 a year. People think you're exaggerating till you look at a 60-year-old fellow and a 61-year-old wife. They're paying $40,000 a year. This would lower their premiums. It doesn't fix Obamacare, so to speak. It expires in 2 years, so it's not like a long-term problem. But for the next 2 years, it saves the federal taxpayer money, number one. Number two, it saves that working family $40,000 a year premiums. It saves them some money as well. I think it's a good way to go.
Listen, do you think, the president told Lamar Alexander go and negotiate it, but he never really entertained it. Could this be something? I know both would sign on to it. If it put to a vote, it would pass because much Democrats would go for it. So have you talked to Mitch McConnell about this?
So I'm not sure it would pass. Again, the Democrats are so into the resistance that if Trump said turn on the heater on a cold day, they would say don't do it. So they were all for it. Now they're against it. I can't get inside their mind except they just don't care about middle America.
So you think there's a chance that Patty Murray's plan that she worked out, Lamar Alexander, a Democrat, working with a Republican, there's a chance that Republicans won't support her?
No, I think there's a chance that Democrats won't support her. There's a chance that Democrats won't support her.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. All of a sudden it became, well, wait a second, we don't like the tax bill, and since we don't like the tax bill, we're not going to vote to help they're not going to vote to help middle Americans have lower taxes, but now they're not going to help by voting to help them have lower premiums. For whatever reason, they've just decided it's G out on middle America.
Senator Cassidy is my guest, also a doctor. Senator Cassidy, I've been stunned by the amount of reporters, commentators, analysts that are focusing on the president's mental stability rather than focusing on what he's doing or not doing. Here's an example. Brian Stelter of CNN, Cut 40.
When President Trump was inaugurated last January, some writers, some columnists like Andrew Sullivan started right away to raise concerns about the president's mental health, about his fitness for office. I think we could apply a test to his 16 tweets today. The test would be, if this were the leader of Germany or China or Brazil, what would we say? How would we cover these tweets? We would say these are the messages from a person who is not well, from a leader who is not fit for office.
And it's not the first one. Everyone, I could have put together a montage of at least 10 different people. You're a doctor. Do you think that the president's mentally well?
The president has said he wanted to make America great again. He has said he wanted an agenda that would put more money in the pockets of middle America. He said he wanted to repeal the Obamacare individual mandate. He's achieved all that. He has said he wanted the European Union partners to put more money up for the NATO defense. He's done that. He's gone after North Korea in a way previous presidents haven't, getting China to somewhat cooperate. So he's been an incredibly effective president. All those are hallmarks of someone who knows what he's doing. His style is incredibly different. But if we had a choice between this fellow with his tweets, which sometimes I could do without, who's otherwise effective, versus other presidents, say Obama, who had, this great demeanor, everybody thought no drama Obama, but didn't get anything done, I'll take Trump.
Right. Do you think he's mentally okay?
Yes.
I want you to also, I guess on January 12th, we're going to find out the president's going to be going to get an exam and maybe put some of this to rest. My sense is that he is actually liking the job much better, and starting to get it down. And I think that the respect that he's showing, the relationship he's building with the Republican Party is probably the most underreported thing that's been out there since he took office. I saw some real bonds, and my reporting shows that he picks up the phone a lot with the men and women, who make the laws, even with Democrats. He's working the phone constantly. Do you hear that? Do you feel that?
Totally. I was in the House 6 years, then in the Senate now for 3. So when Obama was in office, I was in office. I think I visited the White House twice. Never heard from the president otherwise. With Trump in his first year and a half, I've been to the White House several times. I've gotten individual letters from him. He's in constant communication. He invites everybody down for social functions. He clearly understands personal relationships, and you see it happening, much more so than under President Obama. And we know from President Reagan that he used those personal relationships to be more effective, and I think we're seeing that with President Trump.
And Senator, moving on just to the world stage, Nikki Haley came out yesterday and said we're withholding $255 million to Pakistan. We just do not think we're getting the cooperation when it comes to terror. No kidding. Do you like the timing? Do you like the decision?
Pakistan's complicated. And so, in all honesty, I'd like to have some of the classified briefings that she has to fully recommend that. I say that because there's people within Pakistani's military who are pro-American, and there are people within Pakistani's military who are pro-Taliban. And I'm never quite sure who's on the up. So without a classified briefing, I'm going to pass on that. It's too important a question for me just to give you an opinion.
Well, very interesting. The president's disappointed with the Palestinian Authority, thinking about withholding funds to them. He feels as though they won't participate in negotiations, saying disrespectful things. Why are we giving them money? How do you stand?
Yeah, I kind of see that point. It's almost like a Monty Python skit where the Palestinians get up and say, death to Israel, we're going to kill Israel, but by the way, give us money. So it's just kind of crazy. So at some point, you got to start leveraging the Palestinians to do something more than chant death to Israel.
Right. And lastly, Senator, I was able to write a book, Andrew Jackson, The Miracle of New Orleans. Have you noticed more people coming to your state because of me?
I just saw yesterday a bumper sticker for our 300th year anniversary, and there's a picture of Andrew Jackson on a horse on our license plate. And so, Brian, Andrew Jackson's getting his play. Thank you for that. Jackson Square, New Orleans. Great place to hear jazz music and to have beignets.
How do you feel people when they say take down his statue because he had slaves and was part of the decision on the Trail of Tears?
Yeah, so if you're going to start doing a litmus test on whichever American figure, just pick your sin of the day, and pretty soon we're going to have no one left. But the fact is that if you look in context of what Andrew Jackson did, Andrew Jackson was trying to preserve the Union and ultimately allow it to stand until it could withstand the abolition of slavery. I think we have to acknowledge a certain nuance to his positions. I don't in any way countenance the Trail of Tears are of his owning slaves, but you also have to sometimes judge somebody in the totality of what he or she does, not just in the isolated activity.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Senator Bill Cassidy, thanks so much. I look forward to talking to you throughout 2018.
Thanks, Brian. See you, man.
Senator Bill Cassidy, Louisiana, 1-866-408-7669.